So I'd just like to welcome Paul back, Paul Janke from the UK, Shropshire. Paul has amazing experience, like 30 years experience with homeopathy. It's a very, very well-known and well-respected homeopath. And with vast experience also with HIV and AIDS. You've helped a lot of people on that score over the years, Paul. So may I just firstly say welcome. And I didn't know whether you'd like to share your beautiful comment that you've shared before about these are your beliefs, these are from your perspective, and how everything's from your heart and your opinion. Would you be comfortable with sharing that? Because I absolutely love that from you.
I would, Claire. Thank you for the welcome. It's good to be part of this again. Yes, anything I say in any session like this is always from the heart, from me, and it's from me personally. I'm not trying to persuade people to do something. I'm not trying to make anybody wrong, and I'm not trying to lighten anyone's suffering, make light of anyone's suffering, because people are ill or have been ill, or people know people who are ill. So I'm not making light of that. But some of the things I have to say, I'm aware can seem harsh at times, but they're said with love and from my heart, and they are my truth as it stands at the moment. I'm always open to change also.
I love that. Thank you, Paul. And I definitely second that. And I think this is the whole thing about us being awakened light walkers, walking our talk, is this is our truth for the moment. And we may be having completely different conversations in a year's time, and that's okay. We can just go with the flow and just be flexible and open-minded. So we hope our lovely viewers will feel the same way too. So welcome, everybody. We have vast quantities of topics that we could sit down and talk about, but we'd love to just talk about our amazing bodies, because we're so aware that everything that's being discussed out in mainstream media is about the vulnerability of the body, that you almost can't survive unless you've got some intervention, and in some cases there is intervention needed, there is support needed, but on the whole our bodies are utterly amazing, naturally want to self-heal, are phenomenal vessels. And I mean, even just the whole creation of life is amazing in itself. But just for us to be able to just chat about and appreciate these vessels that we as incarnate beings are in at the time being, they are walking, and hopefully everyone is walking or sitting, works of art that have amazing functions. And so I'd first like to just bless everyone's amazing body, because even while we are talking, your heart is beating, your breath is in and out, and it's just everything is on autopilot, always wanting to flow, the energy flow. And even that in itself is a miracle every moment of every day. Sorry, Paul, I thought I've just left that open like a hanging question. Would you like to appreciate it also?
Yeah, I quite agree with what you're saying. The body is amazing. When you think about all these things that take place automatically, as you said, I mean, how many times does your heart beat a day? How many exhalations and inhalations do you have in a day? How many thoughts pass through your mind in a day? How do you pick something up, something as simple as picking a glass up without looking at it? I can just reach for this glass and have a drink. It is miraculous. Yeah. And the healing ability of the body is also miraculous. So generally, it manages to heal ourselves from most things if we don't interfere too much. Occasionally, and it is occasionally, if it was left to its own devices, occasionally we need some assistance. And there are many people out there willing to assist. Without the what I believe the unnecessary intervention of pharmaceuticals to a great degree, I believe they often cause more harm than good. And there are other ways that I personally select before those and advise other people to select. And that is the wonder of the body. If we leave it alone, it tends to be self-healing. But I just want to say, when we talked about what subject we wanted to do today, and I'm happy always to talk about anything to do with health and spirituality, as you know. I didn't know what to say because it's a broad subject. And then I was given the title, Our Amazing Bodies. And after we had that conversation, if you remember, I messaged you after, because another download came which said, Our Amazing Bodies and how we can help them to stay amazing is what I want to be the subject, because it's very, very basic and simple how we do it. But the important word for me there is bodies, because we must always remember we don't just have the physical body, we also have an emotional body, a mental body, and a spiritual body. And that's all part of us. And they're all integrated. None of those is separate from the other. They interact and interlace with each other in the most dynamic and beautiful of ways to support us in our well-being, if we let them, and we don't interfere too much, or we don't allow too much interference from outside.
I love that, because that fits in really well with our spirituality. It's understanding that if we're seeing some discomfort or dis-ease going on in the body, it's normally that's the last stage of our whole ethos of who we are. It's trying to communicate with us that whatever it is that we're saying or doing or intaking into our physicality or our emotions, there's something out of sync in there. And it is that combination of all of them together. So when we are then looking to assist the physical body, we're also looking at all the other aspects together, seeing what is struggling, what is going on within each of our bodies, each of those 4 areas that is uncomfortable, out of alignment, feeling even left out or burdened. It could be anything, it could be absolutely anything. And when we're able to identify that, sometimes we don't even need to pinpoint an exact. Sometimes just the knowing that something's out of sync is enough to create a rebalance. If we create some really good habits to work with, like things like, so for your energy is doing your energy clearing or rebalancing through meditation, and the thoughts, so that you're aware whether your thoughts are working from fear or from love. And all those different aspects. I mean, there's so much more to it, because we just need to find one little thing for each person. But just that it's just overwhelmingly joyous. And this is what I really wanted to emphasize, is when you were describing the title, when we're focusing on all of our bodies as being amazing, our vibration automatically lightens. We become more vibrant, and already we're in that state of appreciation for ourselves and all other beings, all other humans. It's just magnificent. And that's what I love, is just the power of thoughts and the intention of words, the love that comes with it, already has a profound effect on those 4 layers of bodies. We haven't even done anything yet.
Yeah, in all my show, I've got nearly 30 years experience in helping people to wellness. And I would still, I know some people disagree with this, but this is my experience. The majority of illnesses that I treat have started in either the spiritual, rarely, but the mental and emotional levels then impact on the physical body. Yes. That's the progression of illness as I've seen it in the vast majority of cases. Not every single case, because toxicity does come into it. We'll probably talk a bit about that later. Yeah. But the vast majority, it starts in the mental and emotional bodies. Then we ignore that. We ignore the messages we're being given, and then it impacts. And the body is so kind to us, it gives us a symptom. It actually gives us the benefit of a symptom. And that's a gift. However it feels, and I'm sorry for those people who suffer, it is a gift. If we listen to that, then we can actually find out what those mental and emotional issues might be that's now impacting on the physical body. And that is, it's glorious. And that's one of the reasons why I love homeopathy so much, because it works in a similar way. You often see the progression of illness and also the progression of cure working in the opposite direction. And I've watched that so many times, and it's still like a miracle to me every time I see it. So we need to look at those symptoms. We need to see where it's in the body. And personally, what I love to use, and this is the part I love about my work, is it's not about removing the symptom. That's the last thing on my mind. The first thing on my mind is trying to determine what created that symptom in the first place, the actual real cause of the illness. And so the couple of places I go to first, one is the chakra system, which many of you will be aware of. Those of you who are not aware, I apologize, it's too deep to go into at the moment, too long-winded. But I look at the chakra that's involved. And then because of my studies over the years, I'm aware of what those chakras represent in terms of emotions, mental body, and all those things. So that's a way in. And another simple way in for many people, and it's a way that it is really easy. And I use books like Louise Hay, Heal Thy Body. And if you're after the real cause of illness, then just have a glance through that. I've seldom found it to be incorrect, even though initially I broach that with a patient and say, well, this is a suggestion from Louise Hay. And they say, oh, no. But when they actually think about it for a while, more often than not, and very much more often than not, it actually has some kernel of truth in it, and it gives them access to something they didn't have before. And then you watch, you as a homeopath, sometimes I have to do very little apart from listen and just feed back information to them. And that's glorious.
That's such a good book. I do remember being given that, and originally I didn't read it until someone told me to read her story at the end about what she'd been through. And once I understood her journey, then I could comprehend the message that she was conveying at the beginning of the book. But I remember going through, I was in my 20s and I was really, really struggling with stress at the time. So I remember just going through and I looked up, I thought, okay, there's 3 things I'm going to look up that I could think of. So I looked up, and the first one I looked up and I was like, well, that's just a coincidence. That's just, that was me, to describe me, what I was experiencing. So then I looked up the second one. I was like, well, that's just a coincidence as well. And I looked up the third, said the same comment. And then I was like, well, they must all be able to find some way that it's applicable. So I'll look up something that I know I haven't got. So I looked it up, and there was no way that I could twist that into anything that was about me. And I was like, damn it. But I might have to really look at what I'm causing within my body. But you're right. Our bodies tell us. They tell us. I do this with my spiritual mentoring clients is we're having these reactions, not just in our physical body, but we get it first with our feelings. So we might be thinking a thought. We might be expressing a belief, and it could even be a subconscious belief. And we immediately, and we're taught the wrong way round. We're taught, I don't want you to say that to me because you make me feel awful when you say that. And that's again, that's a sort of declaration that we're not responsible for ourselves. But when we have this understanding that we have this alarm bell system in our feelings and our emotional body first, which is saying, ding, ling, 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 I'm feeling uncomfortable because what you're thinking or what you're believing is actually not in alignment with where you would love to go on your life path and the experiences that you would love to experience. And it is almost just a little tripwire attached to bells going ding, ling, ling. And if we keep ignoring that, and we're taught to ignore that, if we keep thinking, oh, it's something outside of ourselves and I'm just afraid or nervous of that, if we miss the whole point of actually, let's think in a different way, and we can change it. We can change our thoughts. We can also change our subconscious beliefs more easily. Thank you, Chris Walton and other people who've come out with great processes. When we are able to do that, then we feel really good, and our emotional body is going, yeah, we are now heading down the beautiful path of this that you want to experience, you're not going off into the brambles on the side. But if we keep ignoring it, that's when our body comes in and it joins in and starts saying. So if we look up, like flexibility around the knees and moving forward with the feet and the ankles, if you perpetually are fearful of moving forwards and then keep missing that warning sign that you're feeling uncomfortable, which is your energy, emotional body saying your fear is holding you back. You want to go on this beautiful path. And eventually the body joins in and goes, come on, let's sit this out, because you won't be moving forwards if we're sat down, because you can't move forwards. And then people say, do you find this with your patients, that they're saying the words that actually describe what the issue is? So they're saying, I can't seem to move forwards. I can't seem to move forwards.
I can't get past this.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So all those signs are there. And what I also appreciate, and I know that you work with a lot of people who maybe have long-term issues as well. So sometimes if something's been ingrained very deeply and it's affected the physicality for quite a while, it takes that little bit of time for it to reverse and reverse. And it's always the last thing is the physicality, the last thing. So I know you work beautifully with their energy, the emotional bodies and the mental, the thoughts, etc. And then the last thing to clear on a long-term illness or discomfort in the body is that sign that it's finally coming from the body. The body is finally letting go of the messages because you're not doing that root cause issue. So yeah, how would you add to that, Paul?
Right. I'm reminded of a saying which I may have mentioned in the last time we spoke about. It uses the word God, but people will be able to understand it without the religious context. And it goes something like, when God speaks to us first, he whispers. When he speaks, if we don't listen, he talks normal voice. If we still don't listen, he shouts at us. If we still don't listen, he throws a pebble at us. If we still don't listen, he throws a brick at us. And if we still don't listen, the wall comes tumbling down. And that's the progression of chronic illness as I see it, as I've seen it in so many patients over the years. And it is a matter of just educating people how to pick up on the early signs before something turns into a chronic illness. In modern society, we think we live in a healthy society. No, I'm afraid we don't. We've swapped acute diseases, which either killed you or you got over very, very quickly. And it's sad that people die, yes, but people do die. We all die. So we've swapped that for chronic illnesses, in which our vital force is depleted for years and years and years and years. And we live a below minimal life. And I'm here personally to live a maximum life, to live life to the full. And I see the degree of chronic illness robbing people of that opportunity. It's as if now, as we age, and I'm aging like everybody else is, it's like we expect to suffer from arthritis, we expect to suffer from heart disease, we expect to suffer from Alzheimer's or dementia. We expect these things. It's almost indoctrinated into us that we're going to, the old age is going to be a problem. I'm sorry, I'll have none of it. It doesn't have to be a problem if we're listening to the messages as we go along. As we're aging, we listen to the messages. And it is a matter of being alert, really, being aware of our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and our physical body, what our physical body is trying to tell us. Exactly as you said.
I love
that. You see that process unfold in a person. And again, I have to speak about homeopathy because that's my forte. I've seen so often when I'm treating a person with a chronic illness, and you give the remedy, and hopefully you've chosen the right remedy, and that's what you're trained to do. If you choose the right remedy, they'll come back, say, a month later, and it happens so often. I'll ask, well, how's the arthritis, for example? And they'll say, not much change in arthritis, but I feel a lot better in myself. And then you know that the remedy's had an impact. And then you see the gradual process of that chronic illness leaving the body. Yeah. But it starts with the energy body. We're energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts with the energy body before it impacts on the physical body in homeopathy very often, and they get it's beautiful, beautiful process.
And I think that's the important thing. So even, and that's where we seem to have sort of veered off in a different direction in the last sort of 120 years, is that prior to the turn of the 1900s, that century, it was understood that when you used nature, when you used even healing processes, there is a natural order of things. It isn't just, oh, I've got a pimple on my knee, I will eradicate that within the next 5 hours. There is a process to it all. And that's how the natural body works, with the whole, the holistic, the whole process. And yet at the turn of the 1900s, it started to become, we have to only look at that pimple. I'm pointing to my knee down here that no one could see. So everyone use your psychic abilities. I'm pointing at my knee. But if you just see and understand that doesn't work. It may have seemed like it works, but if they are only saying, right, I've eradicated the pimple, if the body's been saying, but that's because I'm struggling with this within. If you never look at the what's within discomfort, then the body will go, well, if you're not listening with a pimple, like you just said, we'll start building the wall until we knock the wall down. And that's so, so important. So, yeah.
Yes, and we've had that steady move towards specialization, of which the medical profession are very proud. You know, specialists are adulated, and it sounds like you agree with me. That's the wrong direction. We need to go wider, not narrower, in our understanding of illness. I remember when my dad, bless his soul, was very ill in hospital. He had a horrible illness called myasthenia gravis, but he also had left ventricular failure as well, and so his health was very poor. And it was horrible to see the specialists, the consultants, arguing about what the problem was. If you had a problem, the cardiac consultant would say, "Oh, it's myasthenia gravis that's causing that," and the neurological consultant would say, "Oh, no, it's his heart that's causing the illness," and they'd argue. My dad's lying there, dying practically, and they're arguing as to which specialism is there. Whereas I just wanted to pull back and say, look at my dad as a whole person. But impossible in the medical profession these days, because specialism is really looked upon as the greatest thing, and for me it's the wrong direction. And again, that's a very personal opinion. I'm sure there's some wonder consultants out there, but they need to step back a bit, I believe.
And it is put the whole mix in, so we can revere their gifts and qualities, because they are very gifted. It's just an invitation to saying there's more than just that one tiny little bit. If you're able to add the whole mix, then your capabilities, your speciality, your gifts will expand and have greater impact. Because I would like to believe that the majority, and the large majority of those within the caring profession as specialists, doctors, nurses, etc., that their original intention is getting this profession to help others. So the invitation is, if there is this understanding that by adding the whole of all of those bodies into the mix actually has a greater impact, then let's look at that. Could you consider that as being part of a powerful solution to actually make a beautiful and profound impact on the health of others, rather than just suppressing the symptoms and looking for just only physical solutions?
And then taking that physical symptom away, to me, that's also an error. You're actually doing the patient a disservice by merely giving something to take the physical, the symptom away. That symptom is there to show you something. And if you're artificially taking it away, you're never going to get the message. The patient is never going to be able to pick up the right message. And that's a problem with analgesics in particular. Pain's there for a reason. Pain is the body's alarm system saying, watch out, watch out, listen to me, there's something going wrong here. Now, what do we do? Oh, we take some paracetamol, take some Nurofen or whatever, and let's dumb the pain down, and then we can forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it and carry on.
Yeah. I used to hate that advert several decades ago, probably about night nurse, the cold remedy, cold and flu remedy.
Yes.
And it used to say, take night nurse and you can carry on with life as normal. That's the exact opposite, because that cold that you're having is there to serve you. It's there to be worked through. It's there to detoxify your body. And if you're taking those qualities away, those opportunities away by taking a pharmaceutical medicine, then your body's lost. So that drives the illness inside the body, and that's how illness becomes more and more chronic.
Yes. And that's so different to everything that we're taught on just watching normal TV, terrestrial TV, and even all forms of media. It's always, oh, this has just happened to me. I've just got this.
Yeah.
Just like, you haven't just got something, and this is what I appreciate with Louise Hay and other people who followed on from Louise Hay is that if you have this understanding that something that's expressing itself physically within your body is an indication of perhaps the subconscious belief. I'm going to use that as an example. So perhaps the subconscious belief is that that it's not safe to communicate. And with my spirituality, that can even come from lifetimes where you speaking your truth actually ended your life and other things. Okay, so yes, it's quite understandable that some people get subconscious beliefs that speaking their truth is actually dangerous. It's unsafe. So the body will be always trying to protect you from speaking your truth, because it's trying to protect you, keep you safe. Now, so I'm making up this example, but it can be used in reality as well. So then the next generation, they are also holding back. So it's not just a physical attribute that someone might have issues around their throat or their voice box or their neck. It's also the habits that they get into as well of not speaking out. You don't speak out. And all of those attributes means it could be labeled as you've got a genetic weakness. Okay. And yes, you could look at it like that, but actually what it is, it's the same message coming through the generations. But from our understanding as well, spiritually, it's now an out of date belief. We now know that we are in a world where we can speak out. We can actually, it is safe for us to be our true selves. And when people are then, like you said, if you just keep suppressing the symptoms or I better have something to stop my throat, or what I hear a lot is like stomach ulcers and things like that, or I have something just to counteract that. You're just covering the issue. You're not solving the issue. And the issue isn't there's something wrong with their throat. The issue is that belief where your body, the core of your being, is still believing the old belief, subconscious and way beyond that, to say it's not safe for me to be me. It's not safe for me to speak my truth. And what you are doing, and many others, because it's not just homeopathy but all sorts of natural ways, is saying, look, it is safe. We can help you by changing a subconscious belief. So already your body on every level understands it is safe now. But you can also do it with all the natural products of plants, the energy of homeopathy. So many out there without having to resort to something really toxic that just numbs it, disguises it, and never solves it. But it makes it very exciting, do you not think?
Absolutely. And as I said, that's the part I love about my work. It's about helping a person understand why they are like they are, and then talking them helping them through that with all sorts of different techniques. As you say, there's loads of different modalities of healing, and talking and listening are two of the most powerful. Because very often people can work it out for themselves if you just drop little pointers. If you can skilled enough to see them, you can give people pointers, and they often sort the stuff out themselves. And yeah, it's all there for us. If we seem to have drifted into a world where we believe we're victims of anything and everything, be it from terrorism to COVID. And I don't see that world myself. I understand why people believe it. I believe we live in a conscious universe, and things cannot just be explained in terms of genetics or biochemistry or viruses or germs or any of those things. There's a lot more to it than that. As we started off by saying, the body is an immensely miraculous piece of work. It is beautiful. The body is, I should say, absolutely a miraculous piece of work. And we've lived, the human being has been around for quite a long time now, and we've managed to survive. If the germ theory was totally true, we'd have been wiped out years ago, centuries ago, thousands of years ago even. And that's why it's still called germ theory. It's not actually a truth. It's not a fact. And the body, as you said at the beginning, is quite capable of dealing with many issues itself. And it's just the odd occasion when we haven't noticed, perhaps, that we're out of balance, that it requires external assistance for us to be pointed in the right direction, and maybe given a supplement, remedy, a technique, words, and things like that, exercises. And I want to go into a few of those later, if I may, as to how we keep our amazing bodies still amazing. But it doesn't require, very, very often doesn't require the intervention of chemicals into the body.
Yeah. Well, I am all in anticipation, because I want to know off you, how do we keep all of our bodies in their amazing tip-top condition and boost them when they're not in that tip-top condition?
Right, now that is a big topic, but I thought I'd share with you a few things that I personally do, because
please.
I can only speak for myself, and I don't want to sound like the big I am or arrogant or any other things, but the fact I'm not actually registered with the GP in where I live, I haven't had any sort of medical intervention for over 25 years now. So something I'm doing must be right. So I'm doing this from that place of, it works for me, it might work for other people. And the topic will take over probably a full day's workshop to do it proper justice. But I'd just like to share a few of the things that I do that are easy to do. They take time, they take a little bit of effort sometimes, but they're so beneficial. It's the effort and time it takes, it pales into insignificance against if you become ill, unwell and out of balance, say have to go into hospital or have to have medication of some type. So I'll talk you through a little bit of my day, if that's okay.
Please, yes.
As to what keeps me healthy and it keeps my well-being well. For me, and some of the things I say is between me and my solicitor, so this goes nowhere else. It starts in bed in the morning, and I start off with probably 15, sometimes 20 minutes of prayer and affirmation. Okay, I have my own, and it's pretty standard for me. I change it periodically, but I have about 15, 20 minutes of prayer and affirmation. Then I get up. Then I like to detox a little bit. So I have my first bowel movement. Okay, and I do these things consciously. I don't just sit on the loo and I actually aware that I'm removing waste from my system.
Oh, that's clever. Yes.
Consciousness. The next thing I do, and oh yes, I'll have music on. I'll have positive music on, because this affects, music is a very beneficial tool. I do sound therapy. I'm aware of the power that sound has. So I have some I'll either chant. So I like Hindu chants. So I either chant, play music and chant along to it, or some very uplifting spiritual tunes I have by some wonderful people that lift my mood, that lift me straight away as soon as I start my day. So the next thing I do is skin brush. Skin brush is such an underrated thing and such a simple thing. Dry skin brushing, again, I won't go into detail of any of those things. If people want to know more, they can ask more at another time perhaps, or we'll do something a bit longer in future. But yeah, I dry skin brush before my shower. And it's a very, as I say, very beneficial effect, not just on the physical body, which you think it's only doing that, it actually has a very good effect on the etheric body as well. So next thing is a shower. And very important for me, I start off with a cold shower. I was told about this by one of my spiritual mentors many years ago, by Mike Robinson. You remember Mike Robinson?
Oh my gosh.
And he talked about cold showers, and it took me about over a year, probably 18 months, before I got the nerve to actually try a cold shower. The idea doesn't sound good, but it's a very simple technique. It takes seconds, and I'd let the shower, the cold water go down all my chakras, turn around and do it at the back, and then I turn the warm water on and have a normal shower. And again, with consciousness, I'm cleansing my bodies as I shower. I use the best quality products on my body. That's important too. Personally, I use Weleda. I'm a very big Weleda man because I'm aware of the company and the ethics and the content, the ingredients of all their things are absolutely wonderful. So that's the shower. Next, yes. So next after the shower, I do my yoga and qigong. 20 minutes worth of yoga and qigong, mixture of both. My own particular routine that I devised over the years. After the yoga and qigong, I meditate for 15-20 minutes if I can. And I'm not saying I do an exercise every day. Sometimes don't have time to meditate every day, and I used to beat myself up about that, but now I'm a lot easier on myself. But more often than not, I meditate after the exercise, because that's the order I was taught in. It's better to meditate after exercise, I was told, and it works for me. And then I go about my day, and I eat consciously. I have nutritional foods, and I'm very aware of where they come from and what's in them. I'm so blessed where I live. Even the water I drink comes from a well. It has no fluoride, it has no chlorine, there's nothing in it at all, despite the council constantly telling our landlady that she's got to put something in the well. She doesn't do it. And so I have the best quality water. I feel very, very blessed. So food, nutrition, very important. And general awareness of, I take time out periodically through the day if I can. As again, I'm not perfect, I can't always do it, or I'm not always mindful enough to do it, but I'll have a check-in with my body, with my bodies, with how are my thoughts today, how are my emotions today, and how's my physical body today, how am I doing, and have a periodic check-in through the day. And those are just some of the examples of the things I do to keep healthy. And as you'll have heard through that, they affect every one of our bodies. Those various things, from meditation to exercise to nutrition to water to cleansing, all those things. And I take as little toxicity to my body as possible. And it seems to work for me.
Wow, that's really inspiring, actually, Paul. I mean, I've known you for around 25 years, and I wasn't aware that you had that amazing pattern and such consciousness throughout the day. So that, and for me, I can hear myself going, oh yes, I could add that in, and yeah, I certainly explore that. So I've heard another person who's mentioned about the dry skin brushing as well. And I would say, although I do a huge amount of spiritual work, I probably don't do as much in the way of consciously looking after my physical body in the same way that you do. I've certainly got on board with what products I use. So I'm using all the cleaning products are very natural. I use the We Are Probiotic company. It's a UK company, so that I'm putting good microbes around the house. And because that doesn't just help with cleaning, but it keeps the atmosphere. I'm very, you know me, I'm very much into energy clearing. So I'll use very high quality oils, which I get from doTERRA because I like the resonance of those.
Yeah.
And my oldest niece, she got me into veganism, which is about 2.5 years ago now. And I am so pleased I've done that. I've got a great friend who has been a vegan for such a long time. So she gives me all the shortcuts. So I really always appreciate everyone giving me shortcuts with everything that's going on in my life. So she will just give me, right, I've gone through all your cupboards. This is okay. You might want to take that one out. And like the comment you made, when you didn't always have time for meditation, you don't punish yourself, you don't berate yourself. And I'm the same. I do my best with my veganism, and that's, for me, it's an ethical thing. But I'm also conscious of the energy that I'm intaking. So I'm doing my best to get good quality things. But every now and again, something will sneak in that might have had dried milk that I didn't know was in it. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'll just go, well, I know now, that's fine. I know now, that's fine. So, and I like the occasional glass of wine. So that's, to me, that's my social time with my friends. So that's really good. But all of these, and the biggest impact that I've added that has changed my life, there's two things. One is when I sit down and I just connect myself to the divine eminence, which you've experienced as well. So for those who don't know, the divine eminence is the name that I've given a group of non-physical divine beings who are a collaboration of ascended masters, archangels, intergalactic beings, multidimensional beings, all working with, and the angelic realms, all working in highest divine order, who have come to assist Helen and I on our mission on Earth. When I consciously, I'm just doing it now, and my whole legs are just tingle. So the whole of my resonance changes while I'm thinking of them. And then I feel their essence around me. So that's one of the biggest impacts. And the other is a process that I use from Chris Walton, which is the gamma mindset, which changes. There's a simple posture to sit in that connects the left and right hemispheres of the brain. And when you add the essence of love, when you're thinking of love, which we always talk about, don't we, with most powerful energy in existence, it changes the way the whole energy of your body flows. And they recorded that scientifically. And I love when we get that spirituality and science together, just showing how we are all one. We are all working together, and like you said, all of our bodies working together. So that's, those two things are probably the most powerful things. But you've definitely inspired me to do the skin brushing and conscious awareness of what I'm doing.
I've thought of some more things I do through the day, which didn't
Yeah,
automatically.
please.
So there's kefir. I make my own kefir, which was I use dairy, but there are other non-dairy versions of kefir as a probiotic. And the latest thing, both Lisa and I have bought is a grounding mat, an earthing mat.
Yeah.
And that it was recommended to me by a friend because she found significant benefits, and likewise we're finding significant benefits from an earthing mat. We can't always get outside and do it as it would best be done on the earth, but I can just sit and watch the telly with my feet on an earthing mat, or Lisa got one too, which she uses by the computer and has her wrists on it, and one that she can put on the pillow. So there's all different variations of earthing mats. Very, very good. So the kefir, earthing mat. So I use all my senses. The senses are very important. Very high quality incense. I burn incense most nights because I love the smell. I found a particular make that I think is the best stuff I've ever come across. So I burn that most nights. And yes, I'm also talking about awareness, because we're all everything's energy, and our energy is affected by everything around us. So I'm mindful of the clothes I wear. I'm mindful of the material that my clothes are made from, because they can have a massive effect on the body. and therefore also the sheets and things on the bed and stuff like that. I'm also very conscious of the music I listen to. As I said earlier, sound is very important to me. It's a modality of healing that I use. So I'm aware of the depth of influence it has on me. So I'm very mindful. And I can use different forms of music to stimulate different moods if I wish. But I tend to avoid certain types of music, and it's no detriment to the musicians or anything like that. But it has been designed to have a destructive effect on the body, and people are best not hearing too much of it. Fine to dip into, like you, I enjoy my glass of wine and a whiskey sometimes at night. So people can dip into that type of music. And I'm talking like rave type music and the heavy percussive stuff like that. It is not generally very good for the system to have too much exposure to that sort of thing. So I'm aware of all those things. So I listen to my body. I look at all the senses of my body and what they want to take in, and aware that everything can influence and have an effect on us, even other people's thoughts. We both know from the Lightwalkers group that having like-minded people around us of a similar vibration is very comforting, very helpful, particularly in these stressful times. So being mindful of the people that are in your life. And because of the sensitiveness of our nature, else we wouldn't be in the type of work we're doing. We're generally highly sensitive people. We can't always, and wouldn't want to necessarily, stop some of the thoughts that are passing through us from other people. We're all connected. So we are influenced by the thought forms and patterns and the egregores that are created by other people. And again, it's that awareness that, is that my thought or is that from someone else? If it's from someone else, you don't want to push it away, you just let it flow through like an emotion. You let it flow through you and go through you, and then be aware of which thoughts are your own, and then have a conscious choice of which thoughts you want to keep of your own in your head, and which one you let go of.
That's really empowering. I like that actually, Paul, because one of the things I love doing is because you've hit the nail on the head about the sensitivity, and there are so many people who are awake and very sensitive. One of the things, and as you know, because you used to treat me in the early days, because I was labeled as a oversensitive child, but it was my sensitivity and my awareness. And the moment I was able to create my bubble of light, which with the work that I do, I know you say with your light, you don't need the protection. And you're right. If you're 100% with your strength of light, you do not need protection. What I find with my work is I create a dimmer switch. And this is what I help people with it. When they're very, very sensitive, is to create like a protective bubble. And then because I love adding humor and lightness to it. So we will just do some comical things that we've got a nice dimmer switch that we're turning around. And sometimes we turn it down so your receptivity of your bubble means you can just reach out and sense. Then you might come and go, just turn that back up again. I'm staying in my bubble. Or what Helen and I do sometimes when we are doing our work is we sort of tune into something, and if there are some dire energies there, we will be going into that place with our setting on the dimmer switch on maximum. So our light is emitting out that signal of love so strong that anything of a lower frequency and dimension starts to just burn up on the outside of our light. But it's great to know that we do not have to be affected, because this is some of the things, and it's about that energy body and the emotional body, is if you are walking around exposed and to all these negative vibrations, negative thoughts, everything, and have a deep belief that you are vulnerable to them, you will be impacted by them.
Absolutely.
And the amount of empaths I come across where they are walking around struggling to go in the shopping, all sorts, because they will not or have not created some sort of protection that suits them. I mean, one of my clients had to put something on because they just couldn't cope being on the planet. They're very much a star being. They could not cope being on the planet. So they made an almost like cosmic, it was like what reminded me of the material of some of these spaceships. That was the only way that they could exist on Earth until they built up their inner beliefs, their core strength to go, wow, now I'm ready to be in the world. Now the world is ready for me as well. So that, and so I do really appreciate you saying about just being the awareness of, actually, is that my thought? I don't think like that.
Awareness for me is absolute key, particularly as a practitioner, as a homeopath, where I see one-to-ones more than any other sort of therapy generally. Is I was trained. I mean, all credit to the homeopathic college I went to. It was glorious. It was the best. And what the advice we were given, the students, is when you're about to see a patient, what I do is I sit in a meditative state before they come. I get aware of where I am, how I'm feeling, where my mental, emotional, and physical state is. I'm aware of that. So I know that whatever walks into that room in terms of energy, I don't mean that nasty, whatever in the form of energy, as a person walks into that room, I know what's my stuff and I know what's their stuff.
Exactly.
And therefore I can help them better because they're not mixing in the way that there would be confusion between, is that me or is it my stuff? Is it their stuff? And so that awareness is key for me as a practitioner, is that understanding of what's mine and what's other people's, what I allow to remain and what I allow to pass through.
Now that's a crucial point. Actually, it's particularly important for those who are sensitive to energies, or even most people, when they are working with clients. And I remember I used to run a spiritual group when we could meet in person, and one of the ladies could actually see energies. So she was watching this interplay of energies going on. So I'm sharing this from the perspective of somebody who is wanting to be of service to somebody who is struggling and in pain. Now, without seeing her, without being able to see the energies, what she witnessed from a 3D perspective was that there was a client feeling upset, and I am just sat with her, and I'm not there. I'm not pouring at her hands. I'm not sort of encasing her or anything. And if I'd felt inspired that she needed a hug in that moment, I would have gone with that. But in that moment, I'm responding in my role and with my higher guidance, that I'm just holding the energy. So what this other lady witnessed with the energies was the sparks of energy from the person who was just going through her moment of crisis, expressing her crisis. And then she saw my energy. It didn't just go round her. It just expanded. And so she was quite mesmerized, because she was like, whoa, I've not seen this before. And she said, and the reason I'm sharing it's to understand that I wasn't buying into the pain of the client. I'm holding the light to say, you are also of divine love. You are also an incredible being. You are having this moment of expressing your pain. But you are also within that just the most magnificent, awesome being ever. And you are here in human form, having some human experiences. And then once she was able to calm down, then we could have the conversation that we needed to have. And I did notice the lady stood to one side, and I could sense that she was, because I see with my senses, and I could tell that she was observing, but I wasn't aware that she could actually see the interplay of energies going on. So you, as when you are with your clients, you are very conscious that you are holding the space, you're holding your energy, but you're also creating that safe space for your clients, whether you're meeting them in person or face to face on a screen. You're holding that energy field for them. And I see that you do that very naturally, Paul. You do that totally naturally. Whether you think of it consciously or not is just a confirmation of what you are doing naturally. And I see that with a lot of empathic people. When they really understand the strength of their own energy, they are able to look after their own energy first, which is why I always harp on at everybody saying, put your oxygen mask on first, sort your energies out first, then be of service. It's not about, I'm not being selfish, you're not being selfish by doing that first. Is you actually have more benefit when your energy, the whole of your existence, is in full balance and in a state of love. You are of more assistance to whoever you are just about to meet or communicate with. And that's the importance. And some of the trainings that people go through, like you've just said with the homeopathy training, you recognize your own space first. So that to me is always, whatever people are teaching you, whether it's naturopath, kinesiology, anything where you are being of service to others, there has to be in their training how you look after your own energy, the energy of the room, to create that incredibly supportive space for your client.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Claire. That's beautifully put. Absolutely. Total agreement with that. What I like to say, it probably, I don't perhaps need to do that consciously anymore because I've been doing it so long. It is an unconscious aspect of myself. But I like to describe it as, I don't see the patient's illness, I see their wholeness. And that's a space I hold for them to grow into that wholeness. Well, not to grow into it because they're already in it. They just lost the awareness that they're in it. So it's not illness that I'm treating, it's wholeness that I'm helping them rediscover.
Oh, I love that. It's almost like they're fully emerging into their true self, not
their divinity, their divine
shedding away the out of date beliefs that they are anything less than that. Wow, that's pretty powerful, isn't it? So all these tips and advice that you've shared, what you do, and then obviously anyone can pick and choose. It's like having a buffet, isn't it? It's like, oh yes, I think I'd like to try that one, and that no, that one doesn't resonate with me. But all these amazing things that are out there, and it'd be great actually in our weekly chat to share. I don't mind if you've got a link to like the grounding mat. We could put a link on in the MeWe group, and then but just hearing people, what everyone does. So we've got Tanya in the group as well, who's great with coming out with oils to help. And what I appreciate is that she's doing them she's working with her higher self and her own divine team, who I met when I met her, and I was like, oh wow, hello. And then it's just like, here's your oil, and I'm like, I'm just looking at the oil, but then I'm also looking at this beautiful divine being that's helped co-create it with her, and I'm like, thank you. And there's Tanya going, I don't know why, Claire, but I felt inspired to make this for you. And I'm looking beyond her going, thank you. So all those things where we've got all these amazing things that we can put in the mix that allow us, because would you agree with this, Paul? And yes, we are not denying the fact people have physical ailments, but when we truly 100% are resonating with our innate awesomeness, because I do find this whole incarnation on earth is absolutely fascinating. When we truly believe that, and we are resonating through all of our bodies with that belief, that understanding, with the love and appreciation, that everything just starts to slot into place. Everything.
I quite agree. That's when synchronicity becomes a fact of a constant fact of life, as opposed to a occasional thing. When I first stepped on my spiritual path and I came across this idea of synchronicity as opposed to coincidence, it really resonated well with me. But there weren't that many occasions when it happened in the beginning. But as I progressed along that path and got to love myself more, and to love the process more, and to love the earth more, and love everything more, those synchronicities become more and more regular. And when we're working from the state you just described, then absolutely, the whole of life has become synchronous. And to use the common parlance, we're in the flow. And there's no better place to be than in the flow, because then we're being guided from our highest aspect. And that's the ideal, surely, of walking this earth plane. Is walking, is being in that place and helping other people do the same. That's my personal mission. That's my soul mission, is to help other people. Help myself, because I'm not there yet by any means, but in the process of helping myself get there, I'm overjoyed to help other people walk that path with me.
And that's another thing that I really appreciate with the way the resonances are on the planet, and the vibration of the planet is getting lighter and higher and finer, is that things that we found really difficult to do or apply years ago are getting so much easier. And also in response to our asking is what the synchronicities that you described is, we're also getting higher information on how to adjust ourselves more easily. So I was having a conversation, I was having a little laugh while I was squinting, trying to press the start button on the screen at the beginning, is I'd had a conversation about my eyesight improving, which, as you said, we've probably just bought into that. And synchronicity, the synchronicity of that information being brought to me. And I'm going, oh, wow, thank you, because that is exactly what Helen and I have been asking for. And we've now been given that information, or at least the lead to go and get the information. And we're going to follow on from our inspiration to take outer action to assist with this change that we can create between our eyes and our brain and our energy fields. So, and I'm really, really looking forward to that, because every time Helen and I have done a vision of the future, we're not wearing glasses. We're not, it's just not in our mix. I don't see. And we did the same with Helen's husband. We kept saying, he's not smoking. He's just not smoking. And we didn't realize we'd done quite a lot of visions. And then we suddenly reflected about not one single vision have we seen him with a cigarette. And yet that's how he was known, because he smoked a lot. And sure enough, we just thought, well, I don't know how that's going to unfold. But sure enough, he had that inner calling to stop smoking. And he was able to do something about that and hasn't looked back since. We've also recognized, we're very pleased that we're not wearing glasses at this moment in time. We don't know how we've done that, but the fact that we've seen ourselves in a state of completion, in a higher resonance, and that we are there with very, very healthy bodies, lots of sunshine. Yes, hallelujah. But with really good eyesight as well. And also, as we've gone into the visions further on in the future, that the whole of humanity isn't aging. It's really amazing. It's not aging. It's almost as if, well, that was an old belief that everyone bought into. It's very profound.
Yeah, the aging thing's very interesting. In my understanding, it used to be necessary. The aging process and death process, and having that cycle of life, quite brief life, was necessary when we're working through karma. Yes. We're no longer working through karma in the same way. So our body was actually designed to live hundreds of years in a healthy state. And we're moving into that paradigm now with the energies available to us coming from the universe, the energies that Gaia's giving us. The whole paradigm is changing. So that rapid turnover for karma is no longer necessary. So yeah, I totally agree with you. We have a very different vision, literally, and
yes.
in the future and vision of the future.
Yes. And the other things that came up, and again, this is tying into this optimal health, etc., is that because one of the things that we looked into, and we do invite visions of the future, and again, it's only to us, it's only potentials. We're still looking at it from our human perspective, even though we have this beautiful concepts from our higher perspective as well. They're all possibilities because we do have free will on earth. And we've seen at different stages. So at one stage, we saw that when our bodies did come to a stage where it is now time for us to transition. And I'd like to think that I would consciously choose to go with my beloved at that time. That we almost, it's like we go out and we have parties with everybody, we do our final year's goodbyes, etc. And then we take ourselves in our physical bodies, and it's almost like a transition hotel where we then lay down. We know our body, our physical body, is going to be cared for, and whatever way that we want it to be honored when we finally leave it, and that we just very lightly transition. And then we went to future stage where we would actually just choose, because we could hang around for as long as we want, and then we could actually just choose to just sort of raise our vibration, disappear into the ethers, but also pop back again. Which I thought that'd be great to see the sort of great grandchildren, and that whole interplay of the dimensions and time, space, reality. And again, for us to try and squeeze that into the concepts of our brains at the moment is probably too much to grasp and explain in a very human 2021 way. But in that future, it will be natural, it will be normal. And our physical bodies will match that, because they will be more vibration than they are physical. So it's very exciting.
Very exciting.
And in the meantime, we're helping people shed whatever their bodies are declaring to them that you'd like help with. Cool. Thank you.